I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? How you doing? It is a great day. I'm so very excited to be here. Actually, I'm blessed to be here. And I am definitely blessed to have my next guest on the show today. Mr. Gary Lindberg is here. And I hope I said that right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Yaya. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me. I appreciate it very much.
Anytime. So we had a minute that we had to get on, but we got on, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I wanted to ask you the question. So I've asked this question many times, and I have never really gotten the same answer. And the question would be, what prompted you to actually want to become an author?
Well, I was thinking of certain thoughts that other people didn't seem to think of, and while I was growing up. And then in high school, it was time for me to take biology. And I asked other students who had taken it before I did, or was going to, about what was required and what happened in biology. And they frequently told me that one of the requirements was to spend a number of weeks cutting up frogs or dissecting frogs. And that really didn't excite me. So I chose to take botany instead of biology. Well, when I did take botany, I learned a very important lesson. And that lesson was that all plant life, that's all plant life, is organized in 7 basic categories or levels of categories. And those started with kingdom, phylum, class, order, down to the most specific level of species. Mm-hmm. Well, that was interesting. But later in life, I learned that all animal life is also classified by the same 7 levels of categories, kingdom, phylum, down to the most specific level of species. Mm-hmm. Well, then the thought occurred to me, well, if all plant life and all animal life are that well organized, that cannot happen by accident. It cannot happen by random. It must happen by design. If it's by design, that means there's a God. Mm-hmm. And then when as I got older, of course, people kept saying there's no evidence that God exists. There's no proof. And I decided to find out that for myself. So I started writing my first book, God's Existence, Truth or Fiction, The Answer Revealed, and explored the concept that science proves that God exists. And so then I wrote a book about my Peace Corps experience when I was living in West Africa and on the Ivory Coast, right between Ghana and Liberia. And then I wrote my third book, which is the book we're talking about, God's Existence, Deeper Thoughts for Greater Insights. And I didn't want to confine myself to normal Christian theology or whatever. I wanted to allow my mind to explore different ideas that I might not have thought of before. And so in the first book, I did talk about evolution, but then in the second book that we're talking about, I started to dig deeper into evolution. And I realized that during evolution, there were more than 13 different human species that existed.
Yeah.
And most people have heard of Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon and others. Well, there are a bunch of others, but all those different species were actually became extinct over time. Now, the only species that was left was the Homo sapiens species, which is officially called Homo sapiens sapien. And that does include some characteristics of Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons, because there was some intermarriage and so forth. Then I wanted to explore some of the concepts in the Old Testament, in the books of Genesis and Exodus, and find out, think about, well, what is real, and so I explore different theories or different controversies, I should say, like Adam and Eve. Did they really exist? What about the people that are missing in the Bible? We don't talk about Cain's wife, for example.
Right.
And we don't talk about some other people. And if you look at Genesis chapter 5, it really lists all 10 different generations of the firstborn child, not the brothers, sisters, and that sort of thing. Now, where did Cain's wife come from?
Right.
And so I explore that, and I explore, well, all these people live 900 years, 800 years. Did they really live 800 years? So I explore that. And then what about Moses? Did he really exist? And I explore that. Did the Exodus really exist? Did it really happen? And I explore that. So, and if so, when did the Exodus really happen?
Right.
Because Ten Commandments shows Moses fought against Ramses II. But Ramses II actually turns out to be a very good pharaoh. And Moses wasn't fighting Ramses. There was another pharaoh he was against. So what happened to him?
Wow.
And those are the issues that I talk about.
I love that, because a lot of people don't realize that history can be torted and sometimes misinterpreted and wrong and written down wrong, and the timing can be all wrong. But you have to kind of back it up with, the historical books that kind of show you where everything is. And I've said that many, many times. Not that it never happened, but maybe it didn't happen that way.
That's right. And I realized that the Bible, the Old Testament, I can speak about specifically. The New Testament, I haven't examined it yet, but I see some of it. There were some mistakes. There were some embellishments. There, for example, in the Exodus, supposedly the Bible says that there were 600,000 men plus an equal number of women and children that left with Moses. Well, that's a little bit of a high number, and I'm saying that was really an embellishment. That wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And the Noah's when I talk about Noah's ark and the great flood in my book, I also think that the dimensions of the ark were a bit exaggerated as well. So, and of course, I also talk about how the great flood didn't flood the pyramids of Egypt. It didn't flood North America or South America. Noah didn't come from the Middle East to North America, grab a buffalo and take him back so he put him on the ark. He didn't travel to Australia and get a kangaroo and bring him back. And he didn't take any lions from Africa or whatever. So there was not I'm saying that the Great Flood actually only occurred very locally.
Mm-hmm.
Not a major, didn't cover the whole earth.
Right. It was evidence of specific places where there was a great flood. However, there is no evidence, like you said, in other locations. And, you have that native animal like the kangaroo that doesn't live over there. Yeah. You have the native, depending on how far down, because Israel was a part of the continent of Africa, but you'd have to go pretty far south to get to a lion.
No, there were lions in Kenya. There are lions there. You don't have to go that far south. You don't have to go to South Africa.
Yeah, but not where they are. Not where I don't think are they where they are as well. I mean, even if it's in Kenya, that's still pretty far south, considering that.
Okay, yeah,
you don't have a car. You don't have a car. You don't have a plane. You got to get on a donkey or a horse, and you got to ride down there. It's gonna take you some days. You know what I mean?
Take you weeks, months, years.
That's the thing, and it's like, okay, so to me, thinking foot travel, animal foot travel, it's far.
Yes, ma'am. That's far. Right.
It's
yes,
far.
Ma'am.
My whole concern was too, like, okay, so they say that, Jesus took Mary on a donkey to the manger, but it was the middle of winter So to me, it's like, okay, you have to kind of back that up a little bit before winter. You can't, because it snows. You're gonna take this
Well,
pregnant
yeah,
woman to labor.
yeah. Well, I'm not an expert. My book doesn't cover
No, I'm just
the
saying.
New Testament,
Oh, I
but
know.
yeah, you're right. I think that
Yeah.
Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. He was born maybe July 25th. But
I don't know, but it was
we
definitely
get
wasn't there. Definitely
yeah
wasn't then.
yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely wasn't then, because it would be in the middle of winter, and they're not going to be traveling with a pregnant woman in labor in the snow on a donkey.
Probably not. You're probably right.
Probably not. Probably not. I said the latest would be like September before it starts
Yeah.
to get really cold. So there's a lot of discrepancies. Like you said, there's a lot of different things that people have interpreted. And this is super interesting. I absolutely love what you've done, because you've opened up like that Pandora's box kind of thing, where people don't realize that, okay, history does back this up, but the timing is a little off. The numbers are just a little off, and there's just certain things.
And sometimes the events are a little off.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, come on. That is just amazing. I absolutely love that. And I think that a lot of people don't want to tackle that because it's kind of like taboo, oh, don't do that. They don't want to tell the truth, but the truth is the truth.
Yes, the truth is the truth, but that they're comfortable with the story, and
Yeah.
and when I talk about the Old Testament, I point out that the Old Testament was written about the Israelites, by the Israelites, for the Israelites. They didn't write it for Christians. They didn't write it for Buddhists. They didn't write it for the Hindus. They wrote it for other Israelites. And
Yeah.
there was a purpose for writing the Old Testament, and I go into that in the book.
That's great. So, what is your hypothesis on about evolution anyway? What is it?
Well, evolution is a complex subject, but I'm saying that well, first of all, I have to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that all animal, plant, and human life is directed. It has to be directed, or it has to be non-directed. It cannot be halfway one way or the other. It can't be any proportion one way or the other. It has to be all directed or non-directed. If it's directed, then everything falls in place. If it's non-directed, then it must deviate in every single direction possible. In other words, it must have good direction and bad direction, if you want to simplify it that way. In other words, human beings can be born with 3 eyes and 2 mouths, or 4 arms, and 3 legs. And that has to happen. It must happen. It can't be everybody's consistently born with 2 eyes, 1 mouth, 2 ears, and 2 arms and 2 legs. That is consistent. That means it's directed, and in my opinion. So then I say, okay, that first of all, that has to be true. Then secondly, the evolution happened for millions, if not billions, of years. The Earth was created, 3.54 billion years ago. The universe was created 13.7 billion years ago. And the solar system was created just before the Earth was created in 4.67 billion years. And so that gives, when you look at the Genesis, the first sentence is when God created the heavens and earth. It doesn't give you a full description of every step that God created. He created the universe first. He created the solar system second. He created the planets, including the Earth, after that.
Yeah.
And if you look at Genesis, there are actually 2 stories of creation. 2. Chapter 1 gives you an outline of all the steps that God took, but I think that's erroneous, those steps, as stated in the Bible, because you look at the first verse, it says, God said, "Let there be light," and it was good. Then in the fourth verse, it says, God created the sun and the stars. No. He created this. If he said let there be light, he had light already. He already created the light. He already created the sun. He couldn't. You don't create it after you already have light.
Yeah.
And you have to have the source of light first. And so in my book, I offer edited description of the different steps, because he didn't create the sun on the fourth day. He created that right away.
Well, yeah. I mean, because there is no photosynthesis, and there had to be plant life there for the humans to actually and the animals to actually eat.
Yeah, that's right. And so I'm also saying that I mentioned those 13 or more different human species that existed. Well, those lived for millions of years, or at least hundreds of thousands of years, but one by one they disappeared, and only one human species was remaining, as I said. And so that means it was directed. And if it was directed, the question is, does evolution contradict the Bible? Or is evolution a tool that God used to create? And I'm saying it was a tool.
Yeah.
And so he directed everything in the way he wanted it to be directed. And he's still doing it to this second of this day.
Yeah.
And you see these stars are supposedly turn into novas. They're black novas, and that's because God's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, it's always, the creator is always creating. It's a creator. It's always creating. Always creating. So that's pretty much how it
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that God spent 6 days creating. And by the way, what is a day? And that day, it's not 24 hours. God is not a magician.
Yeah.
He's a creator. So he takes billions of years to create.
It takes time.
If you have 13.7 billion years to create the whole universe, and he creates the earth in 4.57 billion years ago, that's 13 minus 4 or 4.5 is a lot of billions of years, and a lot of things that happen in that time.
Oh yes.
And so I'm saying that all those evolutionary steps occurred, and that's my theory of evolution.
So I'm kind of curious. And I've had this question before, and I've had it presented to me before, and I cannot answer this, but I think you might be able to answer this. Did Moses ever really live?
I believe Moses did live, and archaeologists cannot find any evidence that Moses existed, and that's true. So we have to admit that, but that doesn't mean he didn't exist. We've had different theories, theory of gravity and other theories that people didn't know about. That didn't mean they didn't exist.
Yeah.
It just meant we hadn't learned it yet.
True.
And I'm saying that archaeologists have been sloppy in their studies. And when the different civilizations built their newer civilizations on top of the older civilizations. I remember when my parents and I went to Hawaii, and we were taking a trip around the lower level, the bottom of the great island of Hawaii, and we got to the southern tip, and the guide that we were driving the bus with pointed out to where a house was sitting in the middle of nowhere, and he said that house was rebuilt on top of the old house, which was flooded by the volcano lava. And they just built the house right at it's like 2 stories, except you can't go to the bottom story. And so I'm saying that archaeologists have the same problem, and they know that this is not new to them. But not only do you have one civilization, you have many civilizations, one on top of the other. So how do archaeologists guarantee that they know which civilization they're studying?
They don't.
It's not easy.
No.
And so they get things wrong. And then his other question is, where did they dig? They didn't necessarily dig in the places where the evidence is. Now, Moses, when the Pharaoh said, destroy all evidence of Moses' life, what did the people destroy? They destroyed the obelisks, the statues, the physical evidence that showed that there was that Moses existed, and that they didn't destroy anything else. And a lot of people they think that they're so smart, like to think that the Egyptians had perfect records. They wrote records perfectly. And I'm saying, no, they didn't write their records accurately many times in many ways. And I even discussed some of that when I talk about who the real Pharaoh was. And the point is that these people didn't know the level of where they were supposed to dig. They didn't know the location of where they were supposed to dig. They got things wrong, and they've done a lot of work, but it isn't enough. It isn't, and just because, and how would you know, even if they did all that work, how would you know how would it prove that Moses existed? How would you provide evidence? What did he write a piece of paper? If you don't rely on physical statues or whatever, you have got nothing. There's no way that they can prove it. That doesn't mean it didn't exist. Right. But you've got the major religions, Christianity, Judaism, and even Islam, that all say that Moses existed. So how can they come up with this conclusion if there isn't some kind of evidence in the background that they at one time or another they knew that existed? So I'm saying that Moses did exist. They'd haven't been able to prove it, and that's the problem that they have.
Wow. And I was researching not too long ago, and it says that the history of Moses is actually a different name. I think he had another name other than Moses, and they're saying that was Moses. Like, so it wasn't in that time. This was Moses, and I believe his what we call today a nickname would be Moses. Because he fit the criteria, and the history is there with this guy, and he was the one that did everything, and so he was Moses. I don't know. I haven't dug deep enough, but I know you have dug, and you have your book is called God's Existence: Deeper Thoughts for Greater Insights. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome, and I love the cover. By the way, it's just beautiful. It's the whole universe bursting. I like that. I really do like that. But I tell you, a lot of people say that, we have evolution, we evolve. And I said, well, why do I have to give birth? Seriously speaking, if we're going to evolve, can we just evolve, continue to evolve? I just want to go to the corner. I want to look at it and put my name on it, claim it. And when it grows into a baby, that's when I will take it and take care of it. And I don't need to give birth. I don't need to have nobody cut me open. I don't need to open up wide. I don't need all of that, And so I tell people, we did evolve. And there is a gene, it was a gene that actually got spliced within ourselves that doesn't evolve. It was purposefully done that way. And there's only one way of actually getting it like that. And I forgot what they call it. It's science. It's like, I love to look into that. And I love what you've done. Absolutely love what you've done. You've answered questions that most people would never ever dare answer because they're too scared to do it. Too scared that their faith would be somewhat maybe afflicted by it. I don't think that. I think that if you really truly look into things like this, your faith just grows.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you. I have felt that even though there are mistakes and errors and embellishments and everything in the Bible, that doesn't degrade the value of the Bible. And Christians should not be afraid of science. One thing I discovered in my writing is that many Christians are very much afraid of science, and they believe that science contradicts the Bible.
It doesn't.
And I agree with you. The science does not contradict the Bible because, for example, I point out that the Bible says the earth was created in 6 days. Well, when we talk about the creation, we have to talk about not a human day. We have to talk about a God day. In 6 God days, it was created. And we jump to the conclusion, oh, it's all about us. We have a selfish, narrow-minded attitude, and we have to broaden our understanding to realize that the Bible is very much supported by science. Science is the best supporter of Christianity that you can find.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Lindberg. I agree with you 120,000%. You know, I always tell people, you know, my faith has actually become it's unwavering. It's so much deeper now that I understand that, you know, it is a mandate for me, at least for me, to dig deeper, to understand it more as good as I can while I'm here, and understanding the history and how it happened and when it didn't happen, you know. So it's important. It's important. And I think that people would love your book. Again, that's God's Deeper Existence, God's Existence, Deeper Thoughts for Greater Insights. And I'm going to put the link in the description box so that you guys can find that. It'll be easy for you to find it. But also on the screen, you will see that on the screen so that you will recognize the book when you see it. I mean, Mr. Lindberg, is there anything that we've missed today that you'd like to say?
No, ma'am, I think we talked about it pretty well.
I think so too. And I want to thank you again for tackling the things that most people would never do. They would never tackle this.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to let my mind float free of any theology and any restriction because of my church values, and let it look at it for the truth. I want to see the truth. I don't want to see my prejudice. I want to see what is real.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%, 100,000%. And I do too. And I think that takes you on a journey that you never really expected to take and to go on. It also takes you on a faith strengthening journey that most people have yet to do. And I encourage you guys, if you're looking at this book and you want to check it out, please go ahead and go to the link in the description, or just go ahead and type in on Amazon, God's Existence, Deeper Thoughts for Greater Insights by Gary Lindberg, and you will find that book. And definitely just go ahead and read and let your, how would I say, let your inner child, because a child can understand this a lot better than us adults who are set in our ways. Let your inner child loose and fantasize and imagine. You know what I mean? Because that's where it's at. Mr. Lindberg, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Yaya, for the time you've taken to talk with me. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
The pleasure's mine. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. And until next time, don't forget to dare to be different. Bye. Thank you for watching.